All right, let's jump right in. We're going to talk about a thinker from ancient Athens, a guy whose ideas from over 2,300 years ago are so foundational they pretty much built the house we're all still living in, at least when it comes to philosophy. We're talking, of course, about Plato.
Listen to this quote. The philosopher Alfred North Whitehead basically said that all of Western philosophy is just a bunch of footnotes to Plato. Now, that is a huge claim, right? But it gets right to the heart of just how massive Plato's impact was. So the big question for us today is, why? How did this one person's work become the starting point for almost everything that came after?
To really get Plato, you first have to understand the world that made him. See, he wasn't just sitting around in a peaceful garden, thinking deep thoughts. He was reacting to a world that was falling apart.
Plato was born into a wealthy, important family, but his city, Athens, was in the middle of this brutal, decades-long war that it eventually lost. Then he meets Socrates, his mentor, a man who completely changes his life. And then comes the knockout blow. In 399 BCE, the city's democracy, the thing Athens was most proud of, votes to execute that same mentor, the man Plato believed was the best person alive. And that event, the death of Socrates, that's the key to unlocking all of Plato. It was the personal trauma that set him on a completely different path, turning him from a guy who might have gone into politics into the most influential philosopher ever.
For Plato, this was way more than just a political mistake. It was proof. It was proof that the physical world we experience every day, the world of politics, of opinions, of what seems popular, is fundamentally broken, unstable, and can lead to the worst kind of injustice.
And so, this question became the engine for his entire life's work. It's what kept him up at night. How can we find anything true, anything good and just, when the world we see around us is so messy and corrupt? His personal crisis became a philosophical quest for all of us. Plato's answer to this problem was, well, it was mind-blowing. He basically said that if you want to find truth, you have to stop looking around you, because the world you see with your eyes, that's not the real world, not even close.
And this gets us to his most famous idea, the theory of forms. Plato said there are two realities. First, there's the physical world we live in, right? The world of becoming. Everything is changing, decaying. It's all imperfect copies. Here, the best we can have is an opinion. But then there's another realm, a non-physical one, the world of being. This is where the perfect blueprints exist, the forms. The perfect idea of justice, the perfect idea of beauty, the perfect idea of a circle. That is where true reality is, and you can only get there using your mind, using reason. That's where you find knowledge.
Now, that's a pretty wild concept to wrap your head around, right? So to explain it, Plato gave us one of the most powerful stories in all of history, the Allegory of the Cave. It's basically a metaphor for this journey from ignorance to truth.
Okay, so picture this. There are these prisoners who've been chained up in a cave their entire lives, forced to stare at a wall. All they've ever seen are shadows projected on that wall, and they think that's reality. That's most of us, Plato says. Then, one prisoner is freed. He's forced to turn around and see the fire causing the shadows, and it hurts his eyes. Then he's dragged out of the cave into the real world, and the sunlight is totally blinding. That painful journey, that's education. It's difficult, but eventually his eyes adjust and he sees things as they truly are, understanding that the sun, which for Plato represents the ultimate form of the good, is the source of all reality and truth. He's made the journey from opinion to genuine knowledge.
But here's the thing about Plato. He wasn't just an abstract thinker. He took this incredible theory and used it to draw up a blueprint for a perfect society. He wanted to design a state that could never make the same mistake Athens did.
His big idea, laid out in his book The Republic, was that a just state is just like a just person, writ large. He said our soul has three parts: reason, spirit, think ambition and courage, and our appetites. Well, the perfect state should have three classes to match. You've got the producers, the workers, driven by appetite. Then the auxiliaries, the soldiers and police, driven by spirit, and guiding the whole thing, the guardians, or philosopher-kings, who are ruled by pure reason. Justice for Plato is simply harmony, each part doing its proper job and not interfering with the others. So who exactly are these philosopher-kings? Well, they're the ones who made it out of the cave. They are the people who have seen the truth, who understand the form of the good. And because of that, they have absolutely no interest in money or power for themselves. They rule because they have a duty to. They are the only ones who actually know what's truly good for the city, so their right to rule comes from their wisdom, not from winning a popularity contest.
And this quote pretty much sums it all up. For Plato, this was the only way out of the mess. The only way to stop the endless cycle of political turmoil was to hand power over to the people who were the wisest, the ones who had spent their lives searching for truth.
Now look, Plato's ideas are pretty extreme, especially his politics. But his real, lasting legacy isn't just in his answers. It's in the power of the questions he asked. Questions that have echoed down through the centuries and basically built the framework for Western thought.
And to make sure his way of thinking would last, he founded a school in Athens, the Academy. You can think of it as the very first university in the Western world. And get this, it was so successful, it stayed open for almost 900 years. He literally institutionalized the search for knowledge.
And from there, his influence just exploded. Early Christian thinkers, like St. Augustine, took Plato's ideas and blended them with theology, basically saying the form of the good was God. His political theories became the foundation for thousands of years of debate. His whole idea of a physical world versus a higher, truer reality shaped everything from metaphysics to science to ethics.
And that's really the bottom line. We're still grappling with the exact same questions Plato put on the table. What is justice? What's real? How do you live a good life? Seriously, every time you watch a movie like The Matrix, that's just Plato's Allegory of the Cave with cool special effects. He created the arena where we still have our biggest arguments. So I'll leave you with this, a question that comes straight from Plato, but it's a challenge for every single one of us today. Take a hard look at the world around you, at your own beliefs. Are you trying to make that difficult journey into the light? Or are you perfectly happy, perfectly content, just watching the shadows on the wall?